Okay, so we're learning. We're going to learn the Rebbe's talk, the last actual hey Ariel, the bracha we have from the Rebbe that he gave on Erev Yom Kippur after Mincha on the in the year Tafshin and Beis, which corresponds to the end of the year 1991. So the Rebbe says like this: Poischim bracha. We start off with giving a blessing. Kapsaktim b'Torah b'negei l'chol inyanim, as the ruling of Torah is in all things. Those who follow along in the PDF that was sent. B'chol maimed dematzev, in every situation, b'chol zman, b'chol makom, in all times, in all places. Al derech haragil. That's in a normal situation. We always start with blessing. V'lachs kam makam k'sheyeshna haisafa be'inyan b'zman u'makom b'ofen bilti ragil. Even more so, if we're talking about a non-regular, or you say normal time, or place, in our situation, we're in a very important, unique time, which is, what is the unique time? The Rebbe is giving the blessing, of course, after Mincha on Erev Yom Kippur in the year Tafshin Nun Beis 1991. Is Erev Yom Kippur? We are standing now in the eve, entering into Yom Kippur. And we're not just, it's not just a special time, but an auspicious place. Is Beis HaKnesses in the synagogue, Beis HaTfilah, or Beis HaMedrash in the study hall, Beis HaTorah, or Beis Maisim Tovim, and the house, the Beis HaKnesses of good deeds, of who? Of Kvoikders Marachami Admir Rasid Reinu. This is the shul of the Rebbe. Meaning the Rebbe is saying this is the shul where his father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, and of course the Rebbe, learned, davened, did good deeds. So it's an auspicious place and an auspicious time. So it's even added with more urgency. And more energy. The obligation of Apsak Din and the ruling. That one has to open up the talk with blessing specifically. Because we're in an auspicious time, an auspicious place. So very important that we start off this conversation, this sicha, this talk, this in a way of bracha, of blessing. But Pratis Yosef, the Rebbe says to be more specific. What's so important about the time that we are in now, which is Erev Yom Kippur? The Chol, the Rebbe says, first thing is, where Bechlal, in general, we're in an auspicious time because we're in the 10 days of Tshuva, the 10 days in between, including Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Hadiak b'lashon Chazal, we know that the wording of our rabbis are very specific and very exact. That it says Asar Yomim Shebein Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. That these are the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The L'chura, seemingly Bein Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim Yesh Rak Shiva Yomim. There's a famous question that there's only really 7 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, because Rosh Hashanah is on the 1st of Tishrei and Yom Kippur is on the 10th of Tishrei. So if we count the first 2 days of Rosh Hashanah and we eliminate those days, we count the day of Yom Kippur, which is the 10th, there's really only 7 days. So why does it say these are the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? This is a well-known question. It's not just a name that's been given, but the Torah actually is established. We're on page 53. The Torah is established that this is the psak, this is the ruling. This is how we call the 10 days of tshuva between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe used to bring this idea down many times, that the Torah has the power to change the facts, change the facts on the ground. The Metzias says it's only 7 days. That even though when we count, there's only 7 days between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. The Rebbe says the Torah establishes the facts, changes the facts, that even though from our perspective, the way we count time, there's only 7 days, the Torah says no, there's 10 days. What does that mean? The idea of 10, when we say 10 days, is a unit of time. We know the number 10 is a unit of a number. That starts in Rosh Hashanah and ends on Yom Kippur. Not only that, that he said this. Asar Yamim again. Asar Yamim, the 10 days are a Tkufa Achar Shlema. Is first of all, there's one unit. These are the 10 days, which begins in Rosh Hashanah and finishes on Yom Kippur. And then, aside from being a unit of 10 days, is Shagam Kol Echad Masar Yamim Haschalase Be'inin de Rosh Hashanah V'Siyum Be'inin de Yom Kippurim. Each one of the 10 days itself is connected to that. Its beginning starts with Rosh Hashanah, and its end ends on Yom Kippur. Means the Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of something, which has a message of Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur is the end of something. We're going to learn what's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Each day has within it a little bit of Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, and the end of Yom Kippur. And as a unit, it starts in Rosh Hashanah and ends in Yom Kippur. Let's see what the Rebbe means with this. Page 54. Vaz Barbizat, to explain. Apia Yidu, it's known, Rosh Hashanah Nikra Rosh. What's Rosh Hashanah mean? Rosh Hashanah means, the word Rosh, Hashanah means the head. We know there's a famous idea that we don't call the beginning of the year Haschalas Hashanah, the beginning of the year. That would be the proper Hebrew term. And we also don't say on Rosh Chodesh, the Haschalas HaChodesh, beginning of the Chodesh. We call it Rosh, which is the head. We could say the head, we could say the beginning. Why do we call it the head? Because the head has within it all the energy of the body. So too, the beginning of the year, Rosh Hashanah, includes within it all the energy for the entire year. Also Yom Kippur, Shenikra Gamkein Rosh Hashanah B'Kasiv. There's also verses that says, in Yecheskel, also calls Yom Kippur Rosh Hashanah. So we find that Yom Kippur also has the concept of the head in it, which means it's the soul and the inner intent of the whole energy of the year, as it's brought down in the Likutei Torah of the writings of the Holy Arizal. And if with regard of the whole year, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is considered the head of the year, meaning the head that it has, like the head has all the energy of the year. So even more so. So surely Rosh Hashanah and Kippur has what's the energy of the head of the 10 days of tshuva. Like we said, that what's the idea of the head? She'im hu hamanig, like he says in Yiddish, erhat was zu sagen. He, the head, gives, so to say, the direction. What the body should do. The head decides what the body should do. So even more so that the head knows what the head needs. So first the head knows what the body needs, and so too the head knows what the head needs. Meaning to say, so if we want to say that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are considered the head of the 10 days themselves, Nimsa turns out the point is that every day of the 10 days of Tshuva have the concept of the head of the Rosh that is connected to Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah within it. Meaning to say, a person could look at the 10 days of Tshuva and say that there's the first 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, it's called Rosh Hashanah. Okay, Yecheskel calls Yom Kippur also Rosh Hashanah, so that's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But the 7 days in between are kind of a downgrade or different kind of days. Maybe it's connected to the midos, to the attributes. So the Rebbe says, no, the 7 days themselves are infused with the energy of Rosh. So the Rebbe continues. Again, if Rosh Hashanah and Kippur are considered the heads of the 10 days themselves, Nimsa turns out each one of the 7 days has its unique connection to the idea of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's not just that they're part of the 10 days that also have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in them. Each one of the 10 days is connected separate from the fact that it's a unit of 10 days as a single day. Meaning the Rebbe says a person may think that the 10 days of Tshuva are just a single unit, but each day has its avodah. We see this very much. The Rebbe's Hayom Yom tells us that each one, he teaches us each one within the 7 days a different idea of Tshuva. So the Rebbe continues, and in these 10 days of Tshuva, it's not only is it different, but it also elevates. We continue to elevate. The Rebbe is building up to why and how that Erev Yom Kippur, and we're standing right before Yom Kippur, how we're mamish holding the culmination of the energy of the 10 days of tshuva. And the Rebbe says it's not just it's different, but it's also an elevation. Ka'aklal, as the rule is, when anything is connected to holiness, that we don't stand still in holiness. But Ma'ila Mekodesh, we always have to elevate. Even more so when we're talking about the holiness that's connected to the head of the year, the which includes within it all the holiness of the whole year, that of course we can't stand still. We have to constantly elevate within holiness itself. Like we know, there's holiness of the holidays, which has Chag HaSukkos, includes Sukkos, Pesach, Shavuos, that we know that Rosh Hashanah has within it all the energy of all the holidays. So even more so. The Rebbe doesn't settle. The Rebbe doesn't say that just a person should say, okay, each day of the 10 days of Tshuva, I'm going to elevate a little bit more in holiness. The Rebbe says, no, every minute of the day, if it's now 5 in the afternoon, 6 in the afternoon, 9 in the evening, 10 in the evening, 11 at night, 12 at night, whatever it is, midnight, constantly say, 1 second, I can make you this moment even a holier moment. Befrat, specifically, we're now almost past, completed all the 10 days of Tshuva. That we mamish almost totally completed it. We're holding mincha on the 9th day. The Rebbe says even more. We know that the 9th day is specifically connected to the 10th day. As we know that the way we prepare for the 10th day is on the 9th day. How do we get ready to fast? Everything that we do to prepare for the fast, we do on Erev Yom Kippur. Achila v'shtia, we eat for Yom Kippur on the 9th day. We know that we're supposed to eat to give us energy, and it also has a spiritual effect on the 10th day. Like it says, whoever eats properly and feasts on the 9th of Tishrei, which is today, a person should eat halachically for 2 days. It means if you usually eat a little bit more. The Rebbe says the Torah says an amazing thing, that a person looks at at how the 9th prepares for the 10th. The Torah says, 1 second, the 10th elevates the 9th, meaning to say, if you're going to eat for 2 days, I'm going to consider it as if you fasted for 2 days. So then all of a sudden now the 10th day, 9th day becomes a day that's part of Yom Kippur, elevates like a day of a fast. And the Rebbe says, the Rebbe is talking this talk again after Mincha, a few hours or an hour or so before the fast starts. So we're holding at the end of the 9th day. We're almost holding the time where a person could already start adding that if you take Yom Tov a little earlier, we're almost holding there. And the Rebbe says this is dependent on each one of us as an individual. We have to decide how much time we want to add to the fast or to the day of Yom Kippur. Top of page 55. The Rebbe says, "V'hinei gam kishinim tzoim b'tishrei b'tshiva tishrei." Even though we're in the 9th of Tishrei, in the highest moment of energy and holiness. Hopefully we pass through, or surely we pass through properly. And all the details that we needed to do in the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. So too, and the days following Rosh Hashanah, until we got to now where we're holding the 9th day. So we surely did all the avodah, all the service and the work we had to do. Therefore, the Jewish people are able to affect Shinu HaMetzias. We could change the fact. This is the Rebbe is talking again, 1991. The Rebbe was in a totally different mindset than the reality, so to say, of what we see things. The Rebbe totally wasn't subscribing to limitations. And therefore, the Rebbe is saying is that we, after 9 days of tshuva, after Rosh Hashanah, the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, after we did all the avodah, we're able to affect that we could change the facts. And therefore, it's 10 days, not 7 days. Because the Kamona is going to be explained. But we know that Torah has the ability to change the mitzias, to change the facts on the ground. Gepsak harasag, like the Rapsad Yegoyin says, that ein amunasei umma ela b'teirasa. Our belief is based on Torah. We see the reality of life of the world based on Torah. The Jewish people don't look at the world and say, okay, the world, how does the Torah fit into the world? So the Rav Saadia Gaon says, Einu munaisai uma el b'terasa. What is the amuna? How do we work things? How do we do things? Is the Torah that tells us how things are. The Torah could change the facts on the ground. It means if we look at if there's a contradiction in what the Torah says, even in a situation of reality, and this is brought down to halacha and many things. In marriage, it plays out not just in theoretical ideas, but actually halacha. Halacha decides that if for instance, halacha and Rambam says now. There's a Torah concept called the Beis HaPras. The Beis HaPras is if a person has a field that they don't know if there's impure body, if a person plows their field knowing that there's bodies buried there, and therefore the parts of the body get spread out in the field, and the whole field becomes impure. So the Torah says that if you do that to your field, it's impure. If you do that to someone else's field, it's pure. Even though it doesn't make sense. If either there's body parts in there or there's not body parts in it. Why does it make a difference if it's my field or the next person's field? I mean, the idea is basically it's not your field. You can't make someone else's field impure. But it's a factual thing. That's what the Torah says. The Torah decides this is the mitzvah. This is the way it is. So the Rebbe explains. The Rebbe says like this: when it comes to changing the facts through Torah, the Rebbe says it's also, and even more so, when there is a strong fact of chazaka, there's a strong fact of holiness. For instance, like we say, that even though that a tzaddik is a righteous person, nevertheless, the righteous person has to reach the level of a Baal Tshuva, of a person who's returning, seemingly to say a tzaddik is righteous. Why does a tzaddik have to elevate to the level of Baal Tshuva? Because a Baal Tshuva has certain levels of holiness, even beyond the tzaddik. Ubelashon harasag, as Reb Saadia Gaon says, she'ikar bria sa'adam l'shabra midos. Why are we in this world? What's the purpose of creation? What's the purpose of creation of man? Is to break your character. Means if you have a character that drives you to go a certain way, like the midos, you have to l'shabra midos. The Rasag says you have to break your character, hativis shalai, your nature. Or l'shanis tivis midosav. There's two ways to understand the Rasag. Either to break your nature, your character, or to break the character of your to break the nature of your character. As the two, we're not going to get into the difference whether it's to break to break the midas hativis shela, your natural. It means, do you look at it? You're breaking your natural character or the nature of your character? The Rebbe says, what do we mean here? Now we're holding the 9th day of Tishrei, and we elevated and we did a lot of avoda. The Rebbe says the fact is we're still in exile. We can't subscribe to this. We can't say we're still in exile. We have to change the facts. We have to affect. Take it from miyad immediately. We have to change the facts through Torah that no, we're not in Gullus, and we have to go into the idea of Geula and make it a world of Geula, a world of redemption. That then when we go into the 10th day, and we know the pasuk says regarding about the sacrifices of the Meiser, right? When we take the 10 animals that go through, it says Assyria Kodesh, the 10th one will be holy, not just holy on Yom Kippur, the 10th day, but we'll make it holy with the coming of Mashiach. Is b'chol olam kuli, not just amongst ourselves and not amongst the Jewish people, but for the whole world. Lo mi b'nei Israel. Not only by the Jewish people, in their 10, not only that a person has to make all 10 of their attributes, the 3 intellectual and the 7 emotional, and how you think, act, and speak, that you should change how you think, act, and speak, what your mind tells you to say and what your heart tells you to feel. That surely you have to change. It means the Geula Pratis, to find an inner redemption, to make your 10 attributes holy, that for sure the Rebbe says. Not just that, but you have to affect your space of influence. Your space of influence should also be transformed with Asiri B'Kodesh, that the 10th is holy. Not just to be comfortable with your space of influence. A person says, how much influence do I have? I know a few people, whatever. A few people are going to listen to me. No, try to admit, you have the whole world has to listen. And not only by Jews, also by Gentiles. The Rebbe doesn't even subscribe only to the human species. Even the animal kingdom should be changed. Even the vegetations. Even seemingly the lifeless parts of creation has to be elevated to Asiri Kodesh, that the 10th day is holy. As our rabbis have taught us, when Mashiach comes, the stone is going to call out. There's a verse that clearly indicates that when Mashiach comes, even stones are going to have what to say. They may not have good things to say. They may tell us things that no one knows. The stones are keeping quiet, but they're spending their time taking down notes. Whatever we say, it says one day the stones are going to tell us everything that we've done. And this change of fact that the Rebbe says we have to subscribe to now. Migolus L'Gula, what is the changing the fact that we're not subscribing that we're in Golus? The Rebbe says, as we look now, it's the 9th of Tishrei. We're Erev Yom Kippur, Mincha. We're mamish before the Yom HaSiri, and we're in Golus, and we can't subscribe to that. We have to change the facts. We have to go from Golus to Geula, from exile to redemption. Nasa b'koich and Torah. And how do we do that? It's not just we do it. We do it with the power of Torah. Hachrazes v'haidas nasi derenu, as the calling of the leader of our generation. Shalpip saka Torah kfar kol kitzin. The Rebbe says that the Friedrich Rebbe said, and the Rebbe said, all deadlines for Mashiach to come have passed. Anything that the Torah has mentioned, we have from the Gemaras and we have Rishonim and Achrayim, so many different rabbis and publications that said Mashiach is going to come by this year and by this year, and when this happens, when that happens, all that's passed already. All the deadlines for Mashiach has passed.
But what about the 6,000 year mark?
That's not the 6,000 year mark. It's not a deadline where they say in the Torah, like in Chazal, by this year Mashiach is going to come. That the world is only going to exist 6,000 years. It's not a deadline for Mashiach. It's just that's the expiration date. Mashiach has to come before that. Even more than that. The Rebbe says even more than that. Not just that all the deadlines that have been brought. I mean, the Gemara and Sanhedrin, there were deadlines all the way back in the times of the Second Temple. So the Rebbe says that even the idea that we all have to amdu hachin kulchem, we all have to be standing ready for Mashiach, that also we have. And this is 1992. We're already 35 years from then, 33 years from then. So everything, even then, we're standing all complete, ready for Mashiach, page 56. And the Rebbe says the Ache Kol Inyanim, and after all the things Shepalu that we've affected, the Meshach Kol Hashanim throughout all the years Adata till now. Including also specifically the and the Rebbe says that we know that when the Baal Shem Tov went to Mashiach in heaven and asked him, when is Mashiach going to come? When is the Master going to come? He said, when the well springs of Chassidus are going to be spread. So the Rebbe says we're even holding the that we've had the merit to learn and to spread the teachings of Chassidus. And specifically the teachings of my father-in-law, the previous rabbi. That my father-in-law, whenever the Rebbe is talking about his father-in-law, it's also alluding to himself, of course, is that the teachings of the Friedrich Rebbe were in a way that were even added within the teachings of Chassidus. Like the name of the Friedrich Rebbe was Yosef. Yosef means to add. And the Friedrich Rebbe was everything with simcha, like the word Yosef Yitzchak. Yitzchak is from the word choik, laughter. Like it says, with Mashiach comes, we're going to be filled with laughter and joy. Yitzchak, the second name of the previous Rebbe. The Rebbe is saying, so what's now? We've already done it all. All the deadlines have passed. We're standing ready. We've learned Chassidus. We've taught Chassidus. We've taught the Chassidus of the Friedrich Rebbe of the Rebbe. So what's now? We're not even holding a place where we need a miracle. What's a miracle? A miracle is that, wow, this is something that shouldn't have happened. It should have happened. We don't need a revealed or a hidden miracle. Naturally, Mashiach has to come. This is the nature of things. Mashiach has to come now. This is what the Rebbe is concerned with. 100% right before Yom Kippur. This is what's bothering the Rebbe. This is what the Rebbe wants everyone to be bothered with. When we go into Yom Kippur, is why is Mashiach not here? And what are we doing about it to bring Mashiach? If that's the case, the Rebbe says. So that's so too, that if that's the case, so it also makes a change in the facts the way through Torah, in the idea that says that how we're going to how the behavior of the 10th day is going to come with the on the continuation from the 9th day. That when we eat on the 9th day, like the Gemara says, whoever eats on the halacha says whoever eats properly on the 9th day is as if they fasted on the 10th day. The Rebbe says that we should take the ability to eat on the 9th day into the 10th day. And the Rebbe says, he explains, it's known that the law, when it comes to children, and the Jewish people, it says, the Rebbe quoted, that the Jewish people are like a child that God loves. So it says, there's a question, at what situation do children have to fast? Obviously, you can't have children fasting, it's dangerous. Not only that, even elderly. There's times when we have to push the fast off. If the person's in a situation where it's life-threatening for that person to fast, so obviously you don't fast. We know that even if we push off something because of a life-threatening situation, even though that we know that this pushing off is only a momentarily, like it says, God says, for 1 second I'm leaving you. The idea is why does Pikuach Nefesh, the Rebbe is obviously giving us insight here. What's the theory that a life-threatening situation pushes off the laws of Torah? If someone can't fast because it's life-threatening, or a person can't keep Shabbos because it's life-threatening, what's the reason? The reason is because by staying alive, you'll be able to perform many more mitzvahs. Kalashin Chazal, Amr Torah, the Torah says, Chalalav Shabbos Achas. If you need to desecrate for a life-threatening situation one Shabbos, Kadei Shishmer Shabbos is harvest, so you could do many Shabboses. By the very fact that you're alive, you'll be able to keep hopefully many more Shabboses. Even more than that. Even the pushing off on its own, not that you're pushing away something of Torah. On the contrary, the Torah says, here the Rebbe says another thing. It's not just that the Torah has to make a mathematical calculation. That a person who's in a life-threatening situation, and if the person were to fast or to keep Shabbos or any other thing, would not be able to perform more mitzvahs later on. So in the math of it, it's better to desecrate, to have to violate, so to say, one Shabbos or one fast, so you could be able to fulfill longer the Torah mitzvahs. The Rebbe says the very fact that a Jewish person's life is dependent on it, elevates Torah, that Torah now becomes part of the solution. That now Torah actually gets elevated, that it helps the person stay alive. So the Rebbe says, what's this mean here? The Rebbe is trying to say that we're in that situation today. We're children, we're elderly. We need Mashiach. We can't continue with this day-to-day life. We just go on in the grind. It's time for Mashiach to come. The Rebbe says, and the situation right here is like this. We should never have to come to such a situation where we're sick, we can't fast, we're not well. Hashem should bless everyone that they should be able to do the fast in a good health. But the Rebbe says Mashiach is going to come immediately. The Torah says that when Mashiach comes, we won't fast in Yom Kippur. And he says, the Rebbe continues, 57. We know, everyone knows the famous story that King Solomon dedicated the temple, went through the dedication days, went through Yom Kippur. So when the first base of Mikdash was dedicated, the Gemara teaches us in Moed Katan, they didn't fast in Yom Kippur. There was no Yom Kippur celebration or ceremony in the temple or in the Mishkan, whatever it was that they were doing it those days with the Kohen Gadol. All the whole story of Yom Kippur didn't happen in the year that he dedicated the temple. The Gemara tells us that. Because up until Sukkot, 7 days before Sukkot, we know Yom Kippur is only 5 days before Sukkot. Already 2 days before Sukkot, they dedicated the temple, and every day was a day of joy and feasting, and therefore they ate on Yom Kippur. And the Jewish people were concerned. Maybe they did something wrong. Maybe Hashem wasn't happy with what they did. That they didn't fast on Yom Kippur, and they celebrated and they ate. And the Torah says clearly it's a day fast. It's at Karas. It's not just anything. It's a very severe punishment if a person doesn't fast. And the people were concerned, but if they did it right or not. Yotze Baskol. So a voice from heaven came out. That God said, "Don't worry, you're all going to be worthy and welcome in the world to come." Meaning to say that God was okay, more than okay, the fact that they didn't fast in the year that they dedicated the temple. That became a ruling of Torah. The Rebbe says, if that's the case in the first dedication of the first temple, even more so. If and hopefully Mashiach is going to come, surely Mashiach is going to come today. On the 9th, and Mashiach comes today, there's going to be the dedication immediately of the temple, of the third temple. Migdash Adni Kodni Yadecha, the Migdash, the temple, that's God's handiwork. Right away, it's not going to be like Mashiach is going to come, and 5 days later, the Beis HaMikdash is going to come down. With the coming of Mashiach, the Beis HaMikdash is going to come down from heaven. Even before Yom Kippur comes in. And the Rebbe was saying this with confidence. Erev Yom Kippur in the afternoon. So just like we didn't fast the first time they dedicated the temple, we won't fast when we dedicate the third temple. It's going to be a day of joy and a day of feasting. We're going to eat bread, v'dagim and fish, basar yayin, meat and wine. As it says, like the verse says, I think it's in Daniel, it's brought down, Nehemiah, that we're going to we're going to eat and drink and fat foods and everything's going to be joyous. It's a day of holiness. Until the great meal of Levyasin Vishar Bar V'yayin Meshumar. It's not just going to be any meal. It's going to be a meal that God prepares from the special fish called the Leviathan and the Shar Habar, the great ox, and the Yayin Meshumar, the special wine. It's not going to be a theoretical idea. It's going to be an actual meal that everyone's going to take joy in. And still going to be a day of ratzin, a day of desire. That we call Yom Kippur, this is a day of desire. But not in a way of pain through fasting. We're going to elevate the day of Yom Kippur into the great joy. Above any limitations. The Rebbe said, "Adli die till we don't even have any, till we don't know anymore, till it goes beyond Adla Yada, until we like the idea of Purim, we don't know anymore. That Yom Kippur is going to be like Purim." Even more than Purim. Because we know Yom Kippur, in Purim, we were still subjects of Achashverosh. We were still slaves of Achashverosh, but nevertheless, God made a big miracle. But when Mashiach comes, we're not going to be subjects of Achashverosh, and therefore the Simcha of Purim of Yom Kippur that's going to fall out when Mashiach comes, we're going to be Adla Yada. We're going to go beyond any understanding. Yom HaKippurim b'chaf adimyon. That it's going to be Yom HaKippurim, that Purim is only like Yom Kippur, but it's Yom Kippur is greater. Not in a negative way. We know usually we say that Purim is Yom Kippur is almost like Purim, but here it's going to be the opposite. Yom Kippur is going to be even greater than Purim. That year, the Rebbe spoke after Mincha. And then people had the Suda Mafsekis. I remember that. I was there in 770, 1991, 90 Tafshin and Beis. People said L'chaim. The Rebbe says you have to say Ad Lo Yad. The people said L'chaim. So that's going to elevate with Mashiach. Also, that Yom Kippur is going to be complete. Starting off, the Rebbe says, when Mashiach comes, so we're going to have the service, not the way we have it today in the synagogue. We're going to have the service in the Holy Temple. Aidei Kohen Gadol, through the Kohen Gadol, he's going to be dressed in his Kohen Gadol clothing. That's special, the Kavod L'Tvaris, that's made for beauty. The Rebbe says, "One second, time out." The halacha says in Mishnah Yuma that the Kohen Gadol has to go through. Can't just run in and be a Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. He has to prepare 7 days before. He has to go through the waters of the Parah Aduma. So how, if Mashiach were to come right now, the Kohen Gadol is not prepared to do the avodah of Yom Kippur. The Rebbe says like this: Given Shinyan Zeh Nasa, because Aidei Bezdin, since the Bezdin is going to establish the facts. The Rebbe doesn't explain. Let's see what the answer to the question is. The Rebbe is just strengthening the question. The Rebbe says, "Kivan Shinin Zeh, Nasa Dei Bezdin," because the Bezdin is the one who has to make sure that the Kohen Gadol is ready. So therefore, it has to be that even before then, the promise that the Torah says, and the Rambam quotes this all the time, that God is going to bring back the Sanhedrin as it was before in the city of Tveria. It says, the Rambam says we have a Messiah that's going to start in the city of Tiberias. Even more so. It says about Yom Kippur in the end of the Tractate of Tainus, that the day of God's, so to say, wedding with the Jewish people was the day of the giving of the Torah. And also, it's the day of Yom Kippur when we got the second tablets. It's the kasha. Rebbe answers this question. Doesn't answer the question. All right, we have to. Well, these are one of the questions we have to figure out. How's it going to be with the Kohen Gadol Taka? How's the Kohen Gadol going to do avodah if he doesn't have 7 days preparation? The Rebbe continues. This idea that Yom Kippur is going to be a day like Matan Torah, like the wedding, that it's the day that we receive the second tablets, is connected to the idea of repentance on Yom Kippur. That the main level of tshuva on Yom Kippur is not the lower level of tshuva, what's called in the Chassidus and Kabbalah tshuva ilah, the higher level, where a person totally reunites with Hashem. And how does one really get connected? Is through Imre Secha, through studying Torah. Yichud Pnimi, which is a mamish, an internal unification. Yichud Amaychen, which is the unification of the mind. Shaseichel Hamasch Vamuschel Misachdim, that the intellect and the one who has the mind, everything is connected. The unification of the mind is the highest level of unity. It means there's different ways people have ways of connecting, and we know there's many ways of connecting. One of the deepest ways of connecting is the connection of the mind. So the Rebbe says that's a connection. There's no physical connection that matches the connection of the intellect. This is also connected to the idea that there won't be fasting and there will be joy. So he said like this: the idea of fasting is connected even more to a person who learns Torah, because a person who knows Torah, and Torah is what they occupy themselves with. So chaytev and nenish berkaflayim, you get even more punished because you knew the Torah and you didn't keep it. Now in that, the Rebbe says, if you're going to be fasting, you're not going to be able to learn because you're weak. And also the joy that the person does tshuva, he besimcha rabadavki. You have to have great simcha. When you're fasting, it's hard to have simcha. So therefore, when a person is not going to fast, you're going to be able to learn better Torah and you're going to be able to be more happy. When the Rebbe says this whole idea is like this. How do we really complete Yom Kippur? Kishuri Torah is the completion of the giving of the Torah, which happened the first year Yom Kippur. Whether it is the first tablets that came down with Moshe on Yom Kippur, or the Luchas Rishonis that were given to us, the first tablets that were given to us on Mount Sinai, or came down the 40 days later. Also with the broken Luchas. The Rebbe says an interesting idea that there's the first luchais that Moshe seemingly after the first 40 days, but when he came down holding the first tablets, he saw the Jewish people serving the golden calf, and he broke the luchais. So there's the first luchos are seemingly the same luchos as the broken luchos. And then after Moshe went up another 80 days, 40 days for forgiveness and 40 days for completion of the forgiveness, Moshe received second tablets. And with the second tablets came parts of the Torah that were not given in the first tablets. The whole oral Torah came down only the second time. So the Rebbe, seemingly there's two tablets. The Rebbe introduces there's three tablets. There's the tablets the first tablets the way they are complete. There's the broken tablets, and then there's the second tablets. Again, even though the facts are that the first tablets is the same ones as the broken tablets, but that's the facts the way you see it. But the Torah says there's the level of the first tablets, the level of which the first tablets is the idea of tzaddikim. The second tablets is the broken tablets is the idea of Rishayim. And the third tablets is the idea of Bali Tshuva. Everything together sits together in the third temple in the Holy of Holies. The Rebbe says, is that moving? Until it's going to be with the highest level, the new level of Torah that's going to be revealed with the coming of Mashiach. The Rebbe says the first ruling has to be the Mashiach has to come now. Again, the Rebbe is not subscribing to no more delays, no more fasting, no more. I mean, not that Chas v'Shalom, everyone fasted, but the Rebbe is saying when Mashiach comes and it's going to be revealed in its way. So don't be concerned. We'll be happy. The Beis Hamikdash will come down. The Kohen Gadol will do his job. Everything's going to happen, and it's going to be a way of elevation. And therefore, we have to try to bring the facts in that this is the way it has to be. The Mashiach has to come. We can't go into another Yom Kippur in a way of gullus of exile. So the Rebbe says, what are we supposed to take from this? The Rebbe's powerful talk. He spoke Mincha Tafshin and Beis. Every person, Anashim men, Nashim women, V'taf and children. What does it mean in our actual behavior now coming Erev Yom Kippur? The Rebbe said like this. We'll just do a little bit because we have to stop in a few minutes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What if Mashiach is a woman?
That's a good question. We're going to do. I just want to finish the talk. Next, in another class, you can come join us on the Shmooze on Monday nights. That's something we could talk about on Mashiach and on the Monday night class. So the Rebbe continues. If throughout the years we have to have a desire, batzfia and a yearning, the bias Mashiach for the coming of Mashiach, that we have to wait every day that Mashiach should come. The explanation is that waiting every day Mashiach should come. That Mashiach come any day, any minute of the day. And even more so in a day that's a day of desire. Our the first lesson the Rebbe says we have to take is that we have to have a total yearning and desire for Mashiach to come. And even more so, this auspicious day of the 9th day of Tishrei. After we've completed the 30 days of Elul, and the idea of Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li, I'm to my beloved's to me. That we build up our desire when it's going to be clear. The idea of I'm to my beloved and my beloved's to me, but in a revealed way. But in a true redemption through Mashiach. The Rebbe says, and all the Jewish people, men, women, and children. When we're going to be standing with a desire and a yearning and a waiting for the coming of Mashiach. And no matter what the situation is, like the Rebbe says in Yiddish, no matter what your mindset is, and notwithstanding of how you're talking or thinking or acting, the Rebbe says means even if a person may not look it, the Rebbe says the fact is, the amit is the real desire of every Yid is, like the Rambam says, including not just the ratzin to do Hashem's will, but even more so the desire for Mashiach. Everyone has it, even if you don't feel it, it's there deep inside you. Therefore, because we all want it, even if we're conscious of that want or not conscious of that want, the Rebbe says, God is going to fulfill the desires of the Jewish people. To bring the true redemption, through Mashiach Tzidkenu, the righteous Mashiach. Not only that, God is happy. He's not going to do it begrudgingly. God's going to say, okay, the Jewish people don't stop saying on Maseh. The Rebbe said the last years, we have to shout over and over to God, we can't take this anymore. We want Mashiach. So a person could think that God is getting so annoyed with us, bothering him, that he's going to bring Mashiach just because we're nudging him. The Rebbe says, no, that's Sameach, he's happy. When the Gemara says, what is God doing? The Gemara tells a story that God was having a disagreement with the rabbis in this world. God was saying one thing and the rabbis were disagreeing. So Yeshua ben Levi asked Elijah the prophet, he wanted the background story. Well, how did God respond to that? He said, God smiled and said, you've won me, you've won me. God is happy to see the fight. God is satisfied and happy that we give him the idea of psakdin and we make it a ruling. Stop and finish the golus. Like we said, all the deadlines have passed. To bring the final true redemption. I want to wish everyone an easy fast, a meaningful fast. And talk like the Rebbe says, it should be that we celebrate this Yom Kippur here in Yerushalayim, Kodesh, everyone with the Kohen Gadol and with the Simcha and with the Yeshua and Geula, and we should be zoicha to the Mashiach and the Geula Pratis and a personal redemption, a final redemption for all Klal Yisrael, everyone included. I didn't mean to blow you off, just that this is a class on a shir of the Rebbe Sicha, and we have to come to an end. You're more than welcome to come and ask all your questions on our shmooze, which is on Monday night, and however you got the information for this class, the same.
For me, it was for me.
Gabrielle, you could update her, and we ask all questions on Monday night, the shmooze, and we could address that question as well. I didn't mean to blow you
But
off.
you're talking
Rabbi,
about Mashiach, and I have information.
Come on Monday night class, we'll talk about it. Yes,
Rabbi, I sent a request for access to Google to be able to access the files, like the PDF that you were reading from. So
okay.
If that could be okay.
I'll start uploading that on the. I usually send it out on the group. Did you also get my contacts from Ariel?
No, actually, the other one was I go to Chabad and I was looking at the classes they have, and I saw that you had classes offered. And
thank you. I will start uploading the hard copy on the Zoom as well, and you could just go on the chat; it'll be there as well. Laila Tov.
I just want to say it's time to start living in
Thank you,
Geula,
Rabbi.
and we have to take redemption and become the redemption.